Indianapolis scoring big time once again, nailing down hosting the WNBA's 2025 All-Star Weekend.
It's one of the biggest stages the WNBA has ever had. But as the clock ticked toward tip-off, uncertainty hung over Indianapolis. Would she play? This episode is being recorded on Thursday, July 17th, 2 days before the WNBA All-Star Game tips off in Indianapolis. And as it has been with most of the league's biggest moments since early 2024, the spotlight is once again squarely on the Indiana Fever star guard Caitlin Clark. Clark exited late in the fourth quarter of the Fever's July 15th game against the Connecticut Sun with an apparent injury. For nearly 48 hours, fans held their breath to see whether the superstar would appear during All-Star Weekend, set to play out on her team's home court. First, she was ruled questionable for the team's Wednesday night game against the New York Liberty, its final matchup before the All-Star break. Then, she was ruled out. Then, the Fever fell, hard, losing 98-77 in the Big Apple. Then, the wait. Finally, on Thursday afternoon, a statement was shared on her behalf to the team's social media pages. Quote, "I am incredibly sad and disappointed to say I can't participate in the three-point contest or the All-Star game," she said. While not mentioning any specific injury, Clark added, quote, "I have to rest my body." Clark, who received a record number of public votes to be named a team captain for the game, said still planned to be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the weekend's action, meaning fans can still expect to see Clark at the July 19th game, just on the sidelines. But before her absence was confirmed, those watching closely said Clark would be a determining factor in how the weekend would be remembered, as a breakout moment for the league or as a missed opportunity. The interviews in this episode were largely recorded prior to Clark's most recent injury. After Clark's announcement, we checked back in with some of the people we talked to gather their reactions to the news. Interviews from conversations both before and after are included throughout this episode. There will be more to explore with regard to the effects of Clark's injuries, how it affects her as a player, as well as how it affects the Indiana Fever and the league as a whole in the weeks ahead. But one thing is clear. A lot is riding on this All-Star Weekend for the league and for the city.
Breaking news at 5, confirmation of what many fans had feared. Caitlin Clark will miss All-Star Weekend.
The story of this All-Star game wasn't supposed to be all about Caitlin Clark, even if it was widely understood that a large portion of it might be. The league and city have spent months trying to turn the spotlight toward every player, not just the biggest star. But now, with uncertainty looming, the attention is narrowing again. All of this is happening while the city sits at the precipice of a moment that some have argued could be as significant as the 1987 Pan Am Games, or the 2012 Super Bowl, in boosting the city's image, this time as it relates to women's sports.
You'll be able to start drawing these lines between her arrival, the Fever's on-court and off-court activity, and how we have literally changed as a city.
The game will still be sold out, and thousands will still flock to the city to get a glimpse of the league's best. And plenty more will still tune in. But with Clark out, there's a palpable tension lingering over Indianapolis in the hours before All-Star begins. This is Beyond Clarkonomics. I'm Mickey Shuey.
The number 1 overall draft pick in 2024. Let's hear it. Caitlin Clark to Indiana.
Caitlin Clark is an American icon.
I can't think of a better place for myself to start my career. A place that loves basketball, supports women's basketball.
Everything came together perfectly for the Indiana Fever.
This giant opportunity to cast Indy as a place to visit.
This is Beyond Clarkonomics.
This weekend, the biggest stars in the WNBA are headed to Indianapolis. While many will head to the game, there's still plenty to do outside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Yes.
I am Colie Edison, the Chief Growth Officer at the WNBA.
Before doubt started to arise about Clark's availability, the league was preparing to host one of the biggest events of its season. And it had spent months trying to balance Clark's star power with spotlighting the other 21 athletes expected to participate this weekend. The All-Star Game, an accompanying skills challenge and three-point contest, are held in a different city every year. And, to a varying degree, aims to take over the area directly nearby the game's host arena. This year, the venue is Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and by extension, the city's innermost business and entertainment district, the Mile Square.
The WNBA All-Star Weekend is really our biggest event of the year. It's our best opportunity every year to showcase our incredible talent at the league, but also to build cultural relevance, right? And introduce new fans into the ecosystem. And so I think heading to Indy makes a ton of sense. It's a really buzzy city right now, especially when it comes to basketball. We're having Game 7 of the NBA Finals last month, the Fever winning our Commissioner's Cup championship. The energy there just couldn't be more perfect. And I think it's a city that shows up for women's basketball every single day.
The event goes beyond the game and the skills contests. It also consists of parties, volunteer activities, meet and greets, and other sponsor-driven areas known as activations. One of the biggest spots for that is the WNBA Live fan event, which is being held at the Indiana Convention Center, along with the Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration. There, more than 25 WNBA partners will offer games, giveaways, and samplings of their products. Tickets cost under $30 a piece and give fans access to various family-friendly activities like autograph signings and basketball scrimmages and merchandise. Edison said accessibility is a key focus for the league, regardless of how prominent it becomes. And while that may not mean entry into the game, these are other ways to get fans close to the action.
And these are at really accessible prices. And there's going to be a lot of free stuff going on from all week. And so it's great because there's access for young fans who can't get into the game or new fans who don't know about it to experience the WNBA, because it's not just about on court, right? The WNBA is bigger than that. We are about creating these unforgettable live experiences, and our fans are going to have that whether they're in Gainbridge or they're just outside. So it's about our partners showing up and activating. It's about the social impact work that we're doing within the community. There's really not, if you miss out on WNBA weekend in Indiana, you're going to have to try really hard.
The 2024 WNBA All-Star Game played in Phoenix was among the league's biggest. It drew 16,407 fans, the highest since 2007, and had a record average viewership of 3.44 million, according to Nielsen. The previous high was in 2003, which had about 1.44 million viewers. The 2024 game was the first to feature then-rookie Caitlin Clark, who became a face of the league after her time at the University of Iowa, where she shattered numerous records, including the all-time collegiate scoring for both men and women. Clark was widely credited as a major driver of interest in the event, especially given the comparably dismal viewership of 855,000 in 2023, the first WNBA All-Star game ever to be broadcast in primetime. Ken Ungar runs Carmel-based sports marketing firm Charge. He spoke with IBJ before Clark's string of injuries.
I think it's really important for everyone not only to focus on it from a business perspective, but to truly enjoy it, because this is literally why people work in sports or why fans go to sports, because it means something more than anything else sometimes in our lives. It makes us feel different. It makes us feel special. It makes us feel a part of something. And so I would just want people to recognize that there are not only things going on phenomenally with attendance or sponsorship or television ratings, but there's something special going on in sport. Every sport wishes they have this. It is now the WNBA and the Fever's time, and frankly, Caitlin Clark's time to shine.
For Edison, the focus has been on striking a balance between Clark's inherent star power. She was chosen as a team captain after receiving 1.29 million public votes, and the league's need to highlight all 22 players participating in the All-Star Game, rather than the one wearing the number 22 jersey. She said the fact that the Fever have a deep roster this year, which also includes Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell on Clark's team, is helpful in focusing more broadly on the story of Indianapolis as a whole.
We have to strike this perfect balance between what is our league-wide celebration and this moment to celebrate the WNBA, but also local storytelling And that is a big part of wherever we're going when we're hosting an All-Star game. And obviously, it's very fitting that Caitlin is an All-Star captain this year. We're in her home city. We got Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell on the team. And so planning goes into this in the past year to really strategize about how we celebrate these big names, but also excite the hometown fan favorites.
Christine Brennan, a longtime USA Today sports columnist and author of a recent book about Clark's meteoric rise within the league, said while Indianapolis is a great big event host city, getting its star player healthy for the big game should be top priority. Across multiple conversations in May and June, Brennan told IBJ that while she recognizes the resentment that some players may have toward the young superstar for being in the spotlight, the best way the league can grow is by using Clark to its advantage, to draw more people in with the hopes of new fans seeing the league's talent.
This All-Star game, it's great that they're in Indianapolis. Indy can host this. Indy can support this. But for this All-Star game to not have Caitlin Clark would have just been dreadful. Almost, hey, can you move it quickly and then come back next year? Obviously, that could not happen. But Caitlin Clark is everything. I think as soon as people around the WNBA admit that, as soon as the players understand it, even if it can be humbling and even infuriating, as soon as media members who seem to, minimize her or just not look at the numbers, as soon as everyone realizes Caitlin Clark is it. And you have to have Caitlin Clark in anything you can in the WNBA. That should be the goal. And so when you've got the All-Star game in Indianapolis, because the Fever are such a big deal because of Caitlin Clark, then you really want Caitlin Clark to be there. And so that's a huge part of it.
After the news broke that Clark wouldn't participate in the All-Star game, Brennan was less optimistic.
She is the All-Star game in Indianapolis, and to be out of it is devastating personally for her and also devastating financially for the WNBA. We know the TV ratings and the viewership will now drop. We know the ticket prices will drop. We've seen this before because Caitlin has been injured several times throughout the season.
It's worth noting that in the immediate aftermath of Clark's first injury this season, ticket prices plummeted. USA Today Sports reported that the average ticket price for the first game she missed dropped from $137 to $80. Earlier this week, the cheapest Ticketmaster verified resale ticket was $138 for a seat in the upper bowl of Gainbridge Fieldhouse to the WNBA All-Star Game. Now, just hours after the announcement, as this episode is being recorded, fans could get in for $85. In fact, dozens of tickets are now available for under $100.
First and foremost, you think of her and you think of how sad this is for someone who is so competitive, loves to play, loves to practice, that she just cannot do what she loves on the court. I hope they find a way to use her in ways big and small. I put her on the public address and have her talking to the crowd. Obviously, she'll do autographs, I'm sure, before and after the game. It is an exhibition, so I think there are other unique ways to use her. And I'm sure she'll be on the broadcast as well. But to have her involved as much as possible now that she can't play, I think that would now be the goal for the organizers, for ABC, for everyone, because Caitlin Clark is the show and people are tuning in specifically to watch her. And even if the WNBA and players and media don't want to say that or think about that, is the truth.
Mel Raines has been in the driver's seat for numerous consequential opportunities for the city's sports industry over the past several years. Chief among them, the 2024 NBA All-Star Game, which the league said generated more than $400 million in direct and indirect spending and media exposure for Indianapolis. Raines is a year into her role as CEO of Pacers Sports Entertainment. She joined the parent organization of the Indiana Pacers and Indiana Fever in 2015, holding multiple roles, including as operator of the Fieldhouse itself. She said hosting the WNBA All-Star event could further strengthen the crossover between Fever and Pacers fans, but also give the city a chance to showcase its love for basketball in an outdoor environment. When the NBA All-Star Game was held in the city in mid-February 2024, temperatures were around 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and there was snow on the ground. summer weather offers other opportunities, with some caveats. She said while the ongoing construction could create challenges for navigating downtown, the fact there are so many ongoing projects also behooves the city, showing continued investment in numerous high-profile projects. That could be beneficial, Rain said, as the team looks for opportunities down the road to bring in big-name athletes to join the Fever.
It couldn't be a better time for us to host that WNBA All-Star Weekend, and for a few reasons. One, as we've seen, the Pacers and the Fever have about a 10% ticket holder overlap. I think that will grow in time, but they're really different fan bases. And so I think a lot of the fans that loved NBA All-Star Game will be different for WNBA All-Star Game. So it's a chance for us to showcase the city and the state to a new group of fans that will be coming into town. It's a great time of year to host that. Obviously, February is a little tougher time of year than July. And so I'm excited to see how we can dress up downtown and really show off Indianapolis to the basketball world again. And then for us, it's a chance. The Fever have never hosted, Indianapolis has never hosted this event. And so to show off our city and our franchise to the best basketball players in the world who will one day be free agents thinking about where they want to play. And I think we look at it from a number of different angles, but when the opportunity was presented, we would have been crazy not to jump at it right now. It's a perfect time in our city's history. There's a lot of cranes up downtown. You can see that things are growing here. It's a thriving city and a place that hopefully a lot of players want to come and play when they're next given the chance to come.
Unlike the NBA All-Star Game, which saw Indianapolis's hosting duties delayed from 2021 to 2024 due to the coronavirus pandemic, Pacers Sports Entertainment didn't have a long runway to prepare for the WNBA event. In fact, the city was announced as host in August 2024, just 11 months in advance. In most cases, host cities have at least a year, if not longer, to plan for big events. The city was not supposed to host this year's All-Star event at all, but was chosen after another city, which the league and Fever officials have yet to identify, had to drop out.
Indianapolis may have been the second choice, but ultimately the best choice to host this summer's WNBA All-Star Game.
Rain said from December 2023, when the team received the number one pick in the 2024 draft, the result of a lottery process, they knew it was go time. And by the time Clark declared for the draft the following February, the speculation that she would become the team's newest franchise player had already reached a fever pitch. From that point, the team began talks with the WNBA on how to make the most of the moment offered with the addition of Caitlin Clark, including the possibilities of hosting the league's All-Star Game for the first time.
I think the great part about Pacer Sports Entertainment is that we do have this sort of parent umbrella company that is shared services for both sides. And certainly when we drew the number one, we thought this could be really interesting. And our team immediately began thinking about the season differently in December of 23 and how we may sell the building, how we may scale it and going all the way to the top of the building and not just the lower two levels. What we would activate for clubs, how we would staff everything. And so by the time Caitlin tweeted, I think in late February, early March, we had plans in place. We were running pretty quickly at that point. We were even meeting with the league over NBA All-Star Weekend when they were in town. So we thought this was headed our way, and we had a really good running start. Now, that being said, anybody who could tell you that they knew exactly what was going to happen and how great that season was is lying to you. I don't think anybody knew what it would really be. We hoped it would be as great as it was and that we would gain momentum as the season went, and that certainly happened. And we learned a lot. I've used the analogy here. I think we were hanging on to the rocket ship last year a little bit, and we're driving it this season a little bit better, a lot better, quite frankly.
Ungar told IBJ in early summer that he thought Indianapolis would have been the right choice to host the 2025 All-Star Game, whether or not a lucky lottery pick sent Clark to the city.
You're in this, I wouldn't call it a renaissance, I'll call it a tipping point or a breakout for the entire league. Would you have Indianapolis do it? Absolutely, because you know it's going to be a successful event.
Unlike Brennan, who took a more cautionary tone after Clark's absence was announced, Ungar doubled down on call with IBJ on Thursday afternoon, adding that while there may be slightly less buzz, the league is still in a good spot.
I think that it'll have very short-term impact because the trajectory of the league is now upward. And so I have a feeling If I were to, predict the outcome, is I think television ratings will be higher than last year. Fan interest, as expressed digitally and through social media, will be higher than last year. I think obviously there's a tremendous amount of disappointment by her not playing in the game, but I think she has set the table, or has helped set the table for success of the team and the league. And I think that you will see that success expressed in the results, both of television viewership and general fan interest.
For Edison, there's a lot to like about Indianapolis hosting this year's All-Star event, given its timing with the growth of the league, which is set to expand to Portland and Toronto in the next few years, and has a slate of 3 other cities to which it will expand by 2030. Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia.
It is an historic moment. We want the fans who are in Indy that weekend to feel like they are part of something special. We want them to create FOMO for everybody who can't be there. So fans can expect this bold, joyful, high energy experiences all week.
Chris Gall is Executive Vice President of Visit Indy, the nonprofit tourism agency for the city of Indianapolis. He said big crowds could come to the city for All-Star, as well as a pair of other events on the calendar, including Indiana Black Expo's summer celebration event.
In talking with downtown hoteliers in particular, the city is full, and that's with a very strong pickup from summer celebration and its visitors, and coupled with the WNBA and its brass coming, not only players and fans, but also the C-suite executives, the media that travel as part of the WNBA event, corporations. And then there's a jewelers convention that's happening simultaneously. So over this long weekend, we actually have 3 different distinct events happening. Those 3, we believe, from a tourism perspective, will aid in more incremental travel. It's a new event. Women's basketball is incredibly popular. We have, in addition to that, the fact that it's summer travel and kids are out of school and have the ability to move and visit our city. And then with summer celebration and an existing audience and built-in visitor headcount already on the ground, you put all 3 of those pieces together, and it feels like we could tip into 85, 90, maybe even 100,000 over the course of the weekend in and around WNBA and its ancillary events.
Ungar said while WNBA All-Star is less corporate than most All-Star events, about 90% of the tickets for the NBA's iteration generally go to sponsors, media, and prospective partners. There are plenty of opportunities for those looking to do business during the weekend.
I think that there's a real opportunity. You've seen the ranks of corporate sponsors for the WNBA grow over time. And certainly the All-Star Game is the chance for corporate partners to come, to be present, to be visible, to have fan events, to have internal B2B events, all those different things. And so I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for the WNBA and the Fever. It's also a great opportunity for the city, for Indianapolis, because you'll see partners come from all over to be exposed to the Indianapolis brand.
And Indianapolis tourism leaders are not passing up that chance. Visit Indy's Gall said the organization will leverage one of the sport's hottest tickets to bring in more than a dozen meeting and event planners.
The majority of our VIPs arrive and will get a tour of the existing Indiana Convention Center and meet with its staff and team, and then we'll be able to come into the Visit Indy offices. And we have a room that overlooks the Pan Am Plaza construction site. We call it our Love Indy room because it looks out over our city skyline. And so we'll conduct meetings in there and through renderings, and then also peering out, be able to really showcase how in a few months, really, we'll have an enhanced skyline. And so we'll also walk them along Georgia Street so that you can physically peer out and see and hear construction activity.
While the Caitlin Clark factor certainly plays a big role, the biggest really, in being a draw for many of those movers and shakers agreeing to make the trip to the city, Gall said the energy around women's sports could be impactful for those who see value in that burgeoning portion of the sports industry.
Women's sports as a whole has so much momentum, in particular the WNBA, and we're the beneficiaries of having the Indiana Fever take to the court inside Gamebridge with Aaliyah Boston, with Caitlin Clark. So meeting decision makers, they're seeking a glimpse of what it's like to be in and around these 2 superstars that are transcending sports. And that's a strong calling card to invite someone into Indianapolis to see the game, to see these superstars, and to see really the pinnacle of the top players on one court.
But it's not just Visit Indy that will be doing some entertaining during the weekend. The group behind the attraction of major sports events, think Big Ten championships, the Super Bowl, the NFL Combine, the U.S. Olympic swim trials, WWE, will be making moves throughout in hopes of stirring up interest in the city among those who run events, known as rights holders. Sarah Meyer, Chief of Staff for the Indiana Sports Corp, said the organization will host more than 24 sports decision makers over the weekend. She hopes to be able to point to the WNBA All-Star Weekend as being a springboard from which numerous other women's sports-focused events emanated.
It's a collective effort between us, Visit Indy, Indy Chamber, and I'm sure there's multiple other people. I know Salesforce is hosting some of their clients. Like, there are so many people hosting around this event. So I don't think it's just about, hey, this event happened and is here because they came for All-Star and saw it. I think it's going to be this convention is happening, this business is moving. I think there's a lot of really great opportunities ahead that we don't even know are a possibility because of what's going to happen for All-Star Weekend. And that's really special.
Meyer said that while the public cares about whether Caitlin Clark plays, those considering Indianapolis as a host for major meetings and sporting events put their stock elsewhere in what happens behind the scenes.
It's wild to think how many ways of engagement have been created over just a couple of days. Like, when I think about all of the things that are happening, it's wild to think that this event isn't a week long, that it's only a few days. We'll also be engaging a lot of executives from other teams, other sports teams outside of basketball. Julie Rolash from the Horizon League and also our Sports Corp board chair is leading a committee who is hosting 25 people. She calls them the boss cohort. So bosses, owners, I think it's supporters. I'm gonna mess it up, but it's the boss cohort. But it's people who are decision makers and high-level women executives across the country. And this is a way to not only connect them here, but really help them feel the energy and the excitement and the impact that is being made in women's sports in Indy specific. So I think I'm excited to hear from the WNBA and others on their experience here. Like that, I think that's going to be the biggest question afterwards, is not just what the fans thought, but what did these executives think of what is happening in Indy? Because I think they've been seeing it, they've been hearing it, but you have to be here. You have to be here in the moment, in the city, to really realize what's going on here.
The Indiana Sports Corp's 2050 vision is the nonprofit's first major update to its mission since it was founded in 1979. The plan, rolled out in late 2024, focuses on 5 key areas of the sports industry that local leaders believe will have a long-term impact on the city's strategy to build a large portion of its economy around sports. Among them is a strong focus on women's sports. That, Meyer said, is at the top of mind for her and other city officials as they move through the execution of the WNBA All-Star event.
I think if we were approached about this in 2023, we probably would have been excited about it. We would have looked at it, but it would probably not be as high of a priority just because of the momentum that has just built around women's sports. So to be able to have the Fever team that we have, to have this momentum of women's sports throughout the city and state, all of these things that are coming together, and then host the WNBA All-Star, which is right now, I think, is going to be the biggest WNBA All-Star that they've ever seen. It's really putting all those pieces together in place and knowing to say yes to things at the right time, too.
For Mel Raines with Pacer Sports Entertainment, the writing has been on the wall for years when it comes to opportunities that the city has in women's sports. By bringing in what could arguably be the most impactful women's sports event to date, alongside major events like the NCAA Final Four, swim trials, and even the U.S. Gymnastics Championships, the city is creating its own opportunities to be a leader in the space, she said. But Raines added that this WNBA All-Star Game is just the first step in the process of becoming a women's sports mecca over the next 25 years, if not sooner.
I'd like to be there faster than 2050. I think having the Fever is certainly one way to do it. Hosting events like WNBA All-Star and Women's Final Four are important, but our female leadership here and developing them to be the next leaders of sports teams around the city or organizations around the city is important. Investing in youth sports for girls, I think, is really important. But how else can we be a thought partner in women's sports performance research and those kinds of things that I think could really set our city apart? I think there's a lot of cities that will have teams and will host events, and we won't get all of them, obviously. But I think there's a couple of areas where we can really set ourselves apart, and we're trying to dig in and see where we can be more helpful than just having the Fever here in town. We need to be more actively involved in that.
The All-Star Game is poised to bring thousands of basketball fans to Central Indiana. It will have untold economic impact on the city's restaurants, bars, hotels, and other businesses. But for Sarah Meyer and Indiana Sports Corp, it could have a massive influence on the long-term effort to build the city's sports industry for a new generation.
I think it's going to be a huge catalyst. I think we'll reference back to this year and even last year. I think obviously with Caitlin coming onto the Fever, but this year has just been it's just exploded. And so I think that it's wild because when you're planning an event like this one, and I had this experience very much with swimming trials, you are so focused on what's happening and getting everything done and executing at a really high level and making those relationships, making sure you engage with the right people, all those things. But you don't really think about, well, what's going to happen after? We're trying to get the right people here so we can feel the effects after. Yeah. I think we've been more intentional about that with this event than a lot of other events. And it's not just about let's invite the right people so we get more events here. It's let's invite the right people so it pushes this brand, it pushes this narrative, and it makes people feel the impact of this women's sports pillar as part of our vision. The thing that people joke with me about now is, was this a 2050 vision or like a 2026 vision? Because it's moving so fast.
Chris Gall with Visit Indy said what's being done by the Fever and the league as a whole will also be impactful for years to come.
The arrival of Aaliyah and Caitlin into our community was a big deal, is a big deal. We were unwilling to not fully embrace them as players. We are unwilling to not do everything we can to support the Fever as a team and their desire to leave a positive footprint in our city. There are these demarcations in the timeline of how we have arrived to this current moment. And most will point to the Pan American Games and the work of the Indiana Sports Corp and all of these sporting related events. There are also these moments like building the RCA Dome without a team, the Hoosier Dome, and specific philanthropists and elected leaders who have come and gone through our city. And I believe these back-to-back picks and Caitlin Clark's arrival and where we will go and transcend as a city will be one of those demarcations where 3 decades from now we'll go back and say, wow, she arrived at a time and the Fever hit this pitch at a time in which this building was going up, and then this created demand for this convention or meeting, and then this headquarters moved into place. And you'll be able to start drawing these lines between her arrival, the Fever's on-court and off-court activity, and how we have literally changed as a city. And that will be fun to watch.
The WNBA All-Star Game, to hear those involved tell it, is an important touch point in the quest by Indianapolis leaders to become more immersed in the women's sports industry. But it's only the beginning of what Central Indiana leaders hope will be the city's next big thing.
We have punched way above our weight in terms of our ability to host marquee events at a global level. And I think the WNBA All-Star Game will be no exception.
For Christine Brennan, the USA Today columnist, there's still plenty of opportunity on the horizon for Indianapolis, even without Clark in the lineup for this game.
I think that Indianapolis is already the leader in women's sports. I really do. People are already saying this is the city. They've done it unlike any other All-Star city.
Next time, we'll take a deeper dive into the women's sports component of the Indiana Sports Corp's 2050 vision and how it's connected to numerous ventures already underway and others in the works.
This is not new for us. We set out to capture new business, new momentum, new focus in our city and state. If you look at the signals and trends of what's happened, it makes great sense for Indiana.
Beyond Clarkonomics is a production of IBJ Media. This episode was reported and written by Mickey Shuey and edited by Holly Hayes. The audio engineer and producer was Chris Spangle. Leslie Weidenbender is editor of the Indianapolis Business Journal. Nate Beltman, owner and publisher. A special thanks to Fox 59, CBS 4, and Inside Indiana Business for audio, with additional production assistance from Michelle Kaufman, Daniel Bradley, Dave Linquist, and Michael Kirsch. Artwork by Ashley Day. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.